There will be chapters down below splitting this up into spoiler and non-spoiler thoughts, so please keep an eye on the screen, keep an eye on the chapters so you do not get spoiled in case you want to read this book. I gave this book a 2 stars. I really did not like it, and this is kind of a rant review while also being respectful that people love this, and that's okay, that's cool. Everyone has their own vibe. This just wasn't mine. So let's get right into my thoughts about Magnolia Parks. This is all my notes that I took while reading this book. I don't know if you're going to be able to see them, but I'm probably going to be reading off of here for a bit because I just need to speak this out. I seen this on Instagram, everyone's raving about it, everyone loves it, and I completely understand if you love it and why you love it, but unfortunately it just was not for me. To summarise this book, it's about 2 childhood sweethearts who broke up and now they're fucked up and they can't get enough of each other, but they're no good for each other, and even with the universe screaming at them to not be together, they fight with everything to be with the person they love. Now this sounds good, right? This sounds like it's going to be full of angst. It sounds like it's going to be like such a heartwarming second chance romance. It's not. Not for me anyway. I think the main thing is I wasn't into the characters. So Magnolia Parks, there was 3 things that made this character up. She was beautiful, rich, and she could literally make any man fall in love with her just by spending a few hours with her. Now, I just felt like this was a cop-out of a character. It didn't feel like she had any personality apart from the fact that she was beautiful and everyone loved her. And then BJ, which this is so immature, right? But I hate the nickname BJ, okay? I hate it, okay? And every time I had to read BJ, I just kind of sniggered in my head, and I know that's immature, but it's just the way my mind works. And so take that out of the equation. Again, he had 3 things that made him up. He was rich, he loved Magnolia, and he was destructive as fuck. That was the 3 things that made him up. The characters just didn't feel great to me. They did not feel like well-rounded 3D characters. They felt very 2D, they felt very flat, and if I'm not into the characters, then how am I meant to be into their romance? You know, it didn't add up. Probably the most entertaining or interesting person out of this whole book was Magnolia's sister Bridget. She wasn't like Magnolia, and even though she was going through the same things Magnolia was going through with the family and with certain situations, she was always there, and it just seems like she would be a very interesting character to follow because she's not going the same route as Magnolia. And when she speaks, you just have this inclination that her romance would probably be better than Magnolia's and BJ's. The thing is, this whole book to me was boring. It was 500 pages of, I love you, but we can't be together because of something that happened. And the thing is I love you, but we can't sit in the same room without pissing each other off. But I still love you, but I hate you. And that sounds angsty, right? That should be angsty, but it did not hit that angst mark for me. It just really fell flat on it. Like, the I hate you but I love you trope really works in a situation where you like the 2 characters and you can understand why they should be together. But when you've got 2 characters that can barely be in the same room without hating on each other, that's not angst to me, that's just toxic. And so this didn't work. The whole thing of taking other people into the drama was that they had a friend group, which is fine. The friend group were fine. I didn't have any deep feelings about the friends. I just felt like they were there. And then potential romantic interest for Magnolia comes in, Tom England. And I'm going to tell you now, Tom England was robbed because he was the far better love interest than BJ. I am just saying that straight up. Like, That's just my opinion, but he was the nicer of the two, and I just feel like he was robbed in this whole book. He was treated like shit by Magnolia and taken advantage of. Like, his niceness and his matureness was just taken advantage of from BJ, and I wasn't into it, okay? Like, Tom England was a good character, and I wish that he had a better romance. Also, this book had the least sexiest sex scene I've ever read in my life, and it takes place with Tom England, and I just couldn't. It was not sexy, it was not funny, it was just really cringy to me, and I'm gonna get into a bit more detail and spoilers, but it was so cringe. I hated it. And then, just quickly before I jump into spoilers, you might be thinking, if I really hated this book so much, why did I continue reading it? And I have this issue, and I had the same issue with the After series by Anna Todd, that even though I'm hating something, does it mean that I'm hating it enough to put it down? I was invested in this. This is a 500-page book. I had read 300 pages of it. By this point is the point where I was like, I don't really care anymore, but I wanted the drama and I wanted to see how everything actually worked out, which is why I continued reading, because I was invested enough to want some sort of closure, and I just feel like I don't know if I would have gotten that if I just DNF'd it. And this is my issue, and the same with the After issue. Did I root for this couple? No. Was this angsty and great? No. Was I addicted to the drama and kind of wanted to see where it ended up? Yes, and I will give it that. And this is why it went from a 1-star to a 2-star, because it did keep me invested. It did keep me turning pages and wanting to know what happened, even though I didn't really care if they ended up together or not. So it goes hand in hand with, I didn't enjoy the romance, which is what this book is, and that's what I was basing it off of, but I did enjoy the drama of the romance, and that's exactly how I felt with the After series. Now, I'm going to go into a bit of spoilers here, so if you don't want to be spoiled, if you don't want to be spoiled, then please keep an eye on the screen and wait until the spoiler warning comes off. But I need to speak some spoilers about this book, because I am confused as fuck. So the whole reason that Magnolia and BJ couldn't be together was because they were going out and BJ cheated on her, then told her he cheated on her, and then they split up. And instead of taking time apart and like figuring out what each other wants, what they want separately, if they want to be together again, they decide that the best way forward is for Magnolia to pretend to date guys to make BJ jealous and pretend she's moved on, and for BJ to sleep with anything that shows even the slightest bit of interest. This, to me, did not work, okay? Like, I don't know, like, I've read romances that have done this well in the past that I've actually liked and rooted for, but I don't know why it just came across as skeevy to me in this one. Like, BJ came across as the ultimate top shagger, and I was just not here for it. Like, that's literally one of his bullet points of what made him up as a character, and I'm just like, whatever. Like, it just didn't do anything for me. And Magnolia was playing with people's feelings, and people were going to get hurt just so that she could hurt BJ. Like, I just feel like it was a whole mess of toxicity that was at the center of BJ and Magnolia, that then pushed out into other characters, making the other characters have to be toxic, and it just created a big ball of energy that was bound to explode, and I just didn't like that. They could have took time apart. She could have actually dated someone she had interested in at the start instead of during the middle of the book, Tom England. She could have dated Tom England at the start and actually had feelings for him, and BJ could be sleeping around and they could be taking time apart, and then it could be that she realizes in being with Tom England that that's not what she really wants, and her and BJ could maybe start like seeing each other again, but she's a bit hung up on the fact that he's been with so much people. This would have created angst. It also would create the pocket of space where they could be together and understand each other and just like move forward in a healthier way. Don't get me wrong, I love a toxic romance. I love it. I love it, okay? I don't love it when it's not done well, and this just was not done well in my opinion. And yeah, like, oh. Tom England was brought in to be Magnolia's foxhole. I had no idea what that meant until I read this book. It's technically her beard, and she would use him to kind of make BJ jealous, but Tom England was the first person she had done this with that knew the script. And then she starts getting feelings for him, which is totally believable for a little while until they have sex. And the whole time they're having sex, Magnolia is counting down BJ's tattoos in her head, and it was just utter cringe. I don't like it in the slightest. Like, she's trying to tell us and make us believe that she has feelings for both these men when you know she doesn't. Like, straight up, if she had feelings for Tom, she wouldn't have slept with him under the circumstances that she did, but she also wouldn't be thinking of BJ's tattoos as she's about to hit her O, if you know what I mean. And it just didn't do it for me. It didn't click. And Tom England was robbed because he was actually a really nice guy, and he looked like Thor, for fuck's sake. Like, come on, to fuck. Let's just say Bridget was like the nice one, and if she was a bit older, or, well, to be fair, I think Bridget's 21. Maybe. I don't know. If Bridget was a bit older, or Tom England was slightly younger, that would have been a romance I would have been interested in, because I feel like their, like, stationary personalities would click more. I feel like Bridget is very loyal and understanding and also very smart, and Tom England is very mature and patient and kind, and I feel like they would have clicked more, and it probably would have been like an age gap romance. But yeah, I will always stick to the fact that Tom England was robbed in this book. And what a fucking ridiculous name as well. Just call him Thor and be done with it. I feel like I've been going on and on about this book, but I had such a visceral reaction to this book, which I don't normally have in romances. Normally, I like a romance, or I think it's average. It's very rare that I find a romance that I really, really do not like, and this was one of them. And I think it's because I went into it thinking that it was going to be something that it just wasn't. And a couple of things that really pissed me off. The designer name brand drop-in, don't care for it. I would rather an outfit be explained to me, like, in a way that's like she wore an off-the-collar red dress that made her collarbones pop. Like, that's what I want. I don't want she wore a Balenciaga outfit. Like, that does nothing for me. And it just got annoying after a while, to the point where I actually think about 30 pages of this book was taken up just by name dropping of brands, and I just didn't care for it. It was like the author had taken her Pinterest board, and instead of describing the outfits on that board, she just took the tag names of the designers and put them into this book. Maybe if you're in the world of designers and you can instantly bring a picture to mind of what these outfits would look like, you would have a different experience. I'm not a rich bitch, okay? I do not know what these outfits look like off the top of my head, and even if I did, I still probably would want a description. So that was a pet peeve the whole way throughout this book. Then another thing was Magnolia was a 2D character for me at best, and I didn't understand how she could get everyone to fall in love with her at like the drop of a hat, because I was just like, no, it's not how it works. You can be beautiful and rich and still be fucked over constantly. Like, just because you're beautiful and rich doesn't mean people fall in love with you instantaneously after hanging out with you for a little bit. It makes no sense to me. So the whole thing at the end of this book that had me really conflicted is we went through this whole 500 pages thinking, I hate you, I love you, I want to be with you, but you fuck me over, but you hurt me, but oh, I love you. And it was just so repetitive and so boring. And I had just had enough at the point that I had started to finish the book. I was like, okay, I'm almost finished, it's fine. And then 6 pages before the end, we get the twist. The twist is that BJ actually ended up sleeping with Magnolia's best friend. and they both hid it from her, and her whole friend group hid it from her. Bitch. This was a reveal I was not expecting. I did not predict that it would be the best friend. I predicted that her and BJ would end up together. Ooh, that's gross. What is that? I really need to do my nails. This is something I did not predict. I predicted her and BJ would end up together. I predicted Tom England would get fucked over. I predicted that her friend group would fall out multiple times. I did not predict that the person that BJ cheated on her with would be her best friend. It didn't work for me, this whole book, but that ending had me, it got me. It got me. Like, I do not want to continue this series because I feel like it's going to be boring as the first book, but now I'm left with no closure on what actually happens, because at the end of this book, Magnolia takes off by herself, and that's it, that's the ending. So I feel I have no closure, but I have no real interest to continue this series, so I might just go spoil myself and watch like a review or a vlog of someone that's read the last book of the series. And if I cannot find that, feel free to like message me on Instagram. My Instagram's always linked down below, and just spoil the shit out of the last book for me. Tell me what happens with Magnolia and BJ. Like, just I need to know what happens, but I'm not willing to spend the money or read another 1,000 pages to find out what actually happens. So the thing is this book felt like it had the potential to be great. People love it. It's all over every social media I've seen. I've seen it all over YouTube. Like, people love it. So I bought the physical copy thinking, I'm gonna love it too. Second chance romance, anyone? No. I paid £15 for this, which I don't normally do for a paperback because I wait in bargain hunt. I wish I did not pick this up physically. It was a waste of money, in my opinion, although I am unhauling this to my best friend Sephi. They are always linked down below, so they can read it and I can get their thoughts, and that's worth the £15. So even though buying this physically was a waste of money, I'm gonna reap the benefits of Sephi reading this, which is worth the 15 quid that I spent on it. I didn't like this, so I do not recommend this book. I think there's plenty of romances out there that you could read over this one. I definitely don't recommend this book, but if you're into second chance romances with messy characters, toxic relationships, toxic friendships, in a situation that is kind of like a Gossip Girl-esque, like rich, entitled people and their messy lives, then you may like this book, but please don't take this on my recommendation because I do not recommend it. I gave it 2 stars and I really don't care anymore. I just want to unhaul it, get spoiled for the last book to see what actually happens, and call it a day. So that's Magnolia Parks. I think what I may do is I might put this in a vlog and then I might upload it separately as a Magnolia Parks review, just so people don't need to go through a whole vlog just to get my thoughts on this. So yeah, if you're seeing this as a standalone video, then this is also part of a vlog where I read Heartstopper. If you're seeing this as a vlog, there will be a separate video just to like really hone in on how I felt about this. I have no idea. It makes sense in my head, but I don't know. Yeah, I do not recommend this. Gave it 2 stars. I am unhauling it, and I'm glad that I'm unhauling it to Sephi, because at least I will get something out of it. So if you didn't already know, I'm a messy bitch, and I apparently forgot to sign off this video, so I'm here to say thank you so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this book, if you've read it, or what you thought of this review type video, if you'd like to see more of these from me. Remember to stay safe, happy and healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye.